Do you want better relationships at work and at home?
Then we've got the insights to make it happen.
I'm Larry.
And I'm Dax, and this is Enrich Relationships Part 2.
Practical skills to lead, connect, and grow. Two terms that often get used are chastening and chastisement. For this podcast, I'd like to compare chastening to teaching and chastisement to correcting. Many times there's an urge or a feeling that a manager needs to teach, but they do it by chastising or correcting, where really teaching is more internal, it's more constructive, it's more emotional, it's more supportive of an individual, and it comes from being more humble and having a relationship with that person and a desire to help them be better. The scriptures teach us that whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, not he chastiseth. And I think sometimes it's easy to get it confused and feel like that he's going to ream, but he's a loving father. And so he chastens us to humble us and to help us be better. And if that's our approach in teaching our children, in teaching those that we work with, it's out of a desire to help them to be better. Then it'll be a much more internally focused desire that will help be a long-term change versus like we do as educators sometimes, correcting and whip out that red pen and start marking the paper, which usually that leads to a much more external focus, more of a frustration, almost a personalization of frustration with the teacher. You didn't teach me that, or you didn't tell me that, or how was I supposed to know that? It's almost a defensive approach rather than a teaching, a chastening, if you will.
Yeah, it's great. And it plays a lot into coaching, which we'll talk about in another podcast episode. But a big belief in that is when we chasten or correct, just like you said, there's this defense mechanism that goes off and the individual puts the blame on you. They do not accept responsibility for that error, even if it was their fault, because you're the person, you who are doing the chastising, you're the person who's telling them what to do and making them change, so there's no responsibility or accountability there. Conversely, chastening is all about allowing that person to step into the role of responsibility and accountability and then take action themselves. I saw a great example of this recently in a workshop that I was helping to put on. It was going to 1,000 people, so very big audience, very high stakes, and our tech support made a very big mistake in the fact that a technical capability of the workshop was completely turned off after we'd already told them it needs to be turned on, and, well, they didn't do it. Initially, my thoughts were, wow, we got to ream this person and tear them a new one and really make them feel bad for what they did, because it made us feel bad. It made us look bad as a team that this didn't work, and 1,000 people saw it not work the way we had intended. A director made a great call, and in a public setting with this individual who made that mistake, asked the individual what went wrong, what did they do, what didn't they do, and then set expectations with them to not do it again. So with those questions, it allowed the individual who made that mistake to recognize their error, to sit in their error for a moment, and be the ones to say, I made that mistake. I missed the boat on getting this functionality turned on. And the director was still able to set that expectation of, now let's never do that again. So what a great way to teach someone where they're the ones who vocalize for themselves that they need to change, as opposed to us telling them that they need to change.
I love that example. That's such a great example because teaching really is reflective. And I love how the director, how she said, what would make this better? What do you need to do? What a great opportunity to reflect. And by reflecting, that's constructive. That helps build us. That's teaching versus you messed up, you did it wrong, you did, or you, again, totally external and very disciplinary and really no thought. All it is you're just telling me this. You may not know at all what you're saying, and it just creates feelings. So correcting is important when there's mistakes that are made, but correcting is best done through teaching and not through chastising or rebuking or putting somebody down, which is so common in the world that we live in right now, and especially that tendency to want to bite back or attack or judge or whatever. Really, it's about chastening. It's about teaching.
Well, and as you said, and as I shared my experience, a lot of this comes from an initial reactionary mindset of, I want to tell them they did that wrong, or I want to call them out, and we want to attack. That's our initial feeling, is to attack. But when we sit for a moment, when we breathe and we think through it, we recognize how powerful teaching is. So one thing, going back to this experience, that I think could be improved even more so is the power of one-on-one chastening. This director did it in a group setting just due to the nature of the error, and we were all in this group, and so it had to be done that way for that specific moment. But if there was an opportunity to take this individual aside and have that one-on-one conversation, that one-on-one chastening, what that does even better is it allows that individual to truly think and reflect in a less intrusive way. Not all the eyes in the room are on them. They don't have to feel as guilty having 10 of their peers stare at them as they say, I failed. No one wants to do that. So a one-on-one is a great opportunity to chasten and allow that person to be open to reflection, to be more humble, to be subdued truly, so that they can accept that teaching.
And I know in an earlier podcast we talked about joy that comes through the focus of our life versus the circumstances. And so much like this example you gave, a great example, the circumstances would make us more inclined to want to chastise and correct. But this director was wonderful in teaching, and how important, if we can, to shift from the circumstances back to our focus. Thank you for tuning into today's episode, and be sure to check out our other episodes where we explore additional ways to enrich your relationships at work and with your family.
Before you take off, we invite you to subscribe and share what you liked from this episode with friends, colleagues, and family. Take a moment and share feedback and suggestions with us directly at enrichrelationshipspodcast@gmail.com.
Lasting change comes from enriching your relationships both at work and at home.